Okay, so before we jump into the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead and I give you my spoiler-filled take on it and we talk about how much of a badass Daryl is, I first wanted to mention this video is brought to you by the upcoming release of Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. Your cologne smells like gasoline. The ladies love it. It's also brought to you by Fandango's premier Super Ticket experience. The Super Ticket gets you an invitation to see the movie 2 days early and also a copy of Wake Up Ron Burgundy, The Lost Movie. You also get a digital download of Anchorman 2 and some AMC concession cash. That way you can buy popcorn and Sour Patch Kids. That's what I would do. So click the link down below to see Ron introduce the Super Ticket himself, and make sure to leave your favorite Anchorman quote in the comments for your chance to win 2 free movie tickets from Fandango. Okay, now it's time to talk about Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 8, Too Far Gone. By the way, I hate these mid-season cutoff points. It's like I have to wait 2 more months for the rest of this? I mean, I guess I can do it. I mean, I waited an entire year for the rest of Breaking Bad, and it was worth it. So, by the way, this video won't have any edits or any cuts. It's spoiler-filled. My information out of my brain to you. It's just spewing out of my orifice. So, let's just jump into it here. First bullet point I wrote down. Okay, let's talk about the governor real quick. Last season, you learned to hate the governor. And in my opinion, it wasn't that I hated the governor because he was a bad guy and a villain. It was just because I find the guy kind of boring, and I feel like everything they did with him, they dragged it out to the longest stretchable extent that they could. And it's just like, you're grasping at straws and I don't care as a viewer anymore. The guy just bores me. But I will say, when he returned in this season, I kind of was interested again because he had a little bit more diversity, a little bit more personality, and I kind of liked that he was just walking around wanting to die. I was like, yeah, he kind of accepted what he did was wrong. And then in this mid-season finale, pretty much he just reverts right back to where he was in Season 3, being an asshole with an eye patch. The governor, which, by the way, spoiler, I already told you that, but he dies. But we'll jump into that more later. But I just wanted to say, I'm not a huge fan of the governor, but I did like him for those 2 episodes that we got when he was reintroduced this season. And then he just reverted right back to how he was, and I was like, I'm bored again. So what else is there? Okay, the one scene I really wanted to talk about was the little girl who the governor loves, and it's like his new girlfriend's daughter, and he kind of, like in his head, he's kind of pretending like this is his family before the zombie apocalypse. And the way that that little girl dies, first of all, I'm sorry to say, if we're in a zombie post-apocalyptic wasteland, I'm not going to just sit over here on my high perch as my daughter's 300 feet over there playing in the sandy, murky waters with bushes wrapped around her, and just be like, yeah, it's fine, we're cool, just build your sandcastles made out of mud, I'm sure nothing's gonna kill you. Oh wait, there's a zombie buried right under. By the way, like, terrible location. Could she have picked a worse place to make little sandcastles? There's a zombie right under her. And it's... You gotta be mad at the mom in that situation. Terrible parenting right there. I was like, this little girl's going to die. There's no way she can be that far away and not die. So with that, I wanted to jump into... Let's just jump into the very kind of ending of this episode, because everything that happens before this is kind of just build up and kind of just going through the motions until we can get to the last 10 minutes of the show. Because the entire point of this was the battle between the governor and his camp against Rick and the people that live in the prison. The one thing I wanted to mention here was the little confrontation between Rick and the governor. The governor pulls up after he brainwashed his camp once again. The guy's a good brainwasher. Like, the guy can just give a little spiel and everybody buys into it. I'm sorry to say, I just don't trust a guy with an eye patch. I don't care what he's saying, what he's selling. I don't trust him. He could be the most honest guy on the planet, but he has an eye patch, and that scares me, and I don't trust him. Plus, he's wearing a dark, evil, black leather jacket, and I just don't trust that either. The guy just looks like a bad guy. That's what I'm getting to here. But the confrontation between Rick and the governor at the chain link fence, where Rick's trying to reason with the governor, and he's like, you know what? You come in and try to attack us, you're not going to win the prison because it's going to be taken over by zombies because we're going to make so much noise. The zombies come to the chain link fence. And he made pretty valid points right there. And I was like, yeah, Rick, I agree with you for about once in the last 4 seasons. You make sense right here. So I really like that part of it. But I will say the one line that Rick tries to sell to the governor, where he's like, "We can all live here together. We can all live in peace. It'll be hard at first, but we can do it." That's my impression of Andrew Lincoln's American accent. Sounds a little forced at times, but you know, he says that he might have issues with Michonne and a few other people. I don't remember him mentioning having issues with Maggie. We'll just go with Maggie, Glenn's wife. I don't know if anyone's forgetting about this, but the governor pretty much visually raped her in a cold, dark room last season, and no one's really talking about that anymore, so I don't think she'd quite get along with the governor either. And the other thing I wanted to mention was they pull up with a tank. They're like, "We got a tank!" Here's my thing with Rick and his group that live at the prison. There's no reason they shouldn't have a tank either. Let's really back up and rewind. How many times have they come across a military station with Humvees and, you know, armor-plated vehicles? There's no reason they couldn't have just grabbed one tank, because they've come across a few. I mean, hell, Rick even hung out in one in Atlanta in the first season. And it just seems like they would have a tank at the prison. Like, I don't know, just for something along the lines, if somebody came with a tank, they could say they have a tank too. I don't know, it just makes sense. Maybe, I don't know, that would just be me. Then again, I'm a weirdo, I'm overly prepared, and I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse. I don't have a lot of friends, I'm ready. I'm just going to drive around in my Honda Accord all day long with, I don't even own a gun. I'd have a paintball gun, driving around in a Honda Accord, and I'd probably die within 25 minutes. Okay, let's get back to the topics here. Herschel's head falls off after it's cut with Michonne's samurai blade by the governor. Pretty much the governor loses his shit, gets mad. Herschel and Michonne are held captive right here. They're on their knees, and I guess the governor just hated Herschel right here, even though the logical standpoint from the governor's point of view would have been to kill Michonne. Like, he didn't really hate Herschel. That blade would have actually, in all reality, would have cut off Michonne's head. But we can't do that. Michonne's kind of a badass. We got to continue keeping her on board. Herschel's time ran out, which, by the way, I think we all knew was coming. And I don't know if that's in the graphic novel of The Walking Dead. I think it is. But the way I know anyone's going to die on this show is if they dedicate at least one episode to actually character development and getting to know the character, where you care about them as a viewer and you're interested in them, I know that person's going to die within 2 episodes after that. Every time. It's kind of a letdown sometimes. You're like, Herschel was kind of a badass when he was helping that whole flu situation in the prison. Okay. Okay, so the whole thing implodes, they go to battle, the tank goes over the chain link fence, everything's going to hell, people are shooting back and forth, no one's really a good shot because everyone's missing every shot they take, and the one point that I kind of laughed at a little bit is when you have the little girls, the one little weird little girl which, by the way, my theory is, I'm pretty sure she did what Carol took the blame for to some extent. Not quite sure, but who, by the way, I think is the one that was dissecting that little rat. I don't know. But anyway, the part where they run out with guns and they're like, we have to be tough. Carol said to be tough. And the guns are like as big as they are. That part seemed a little bit, seemed forced to me. Until the one little girl saves someone's ass by shooting a zombie in the head. And by the way, the other little girls are carrying around Rick's baby. What is her name? Julie? Yeah, that sounds right. Julie. And it's like, I understand the little girls are at this point taking care of the baby for some odd reason, but it seems like someone a little bit more responsible would be in charge of the infant child. And at the end of this episode, you see the baby carrier and it's got blood all in it and the baby's gone. So I guess we're supposed to assume that the baby was eaten by a zombie at this point. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, though from a story standpoint, it would make writing more episodes a little bit easy because that baby is kind of like a little bit of dead weight. That sounds awful. Like, if that kid actually died on that show, that just sounded awful. But, you know, they always kind of have to work around writing, oh, Beth's taking care of the baby. Oh, somebody's taking care of the baby. Everyone except for the baby's parent, Rick, is taking care of the baby. Rick, I think Rick's held that child 3 times since she was born. But he's a good man. He wanted to be a farmer, but that can never be. So let's jump into the by the way, do you guys think the baby's dead? Let me know down below. Did Julie die? I just don't feel like they would do that. Okay. So Michonne ends up technically not killing the governor. She stabs the governor with her sword, which, by the way, once that happened, I was like, oh, finally, the governor has died. Thank you. We don't have to see this guy in another episode. He's gone. We can move on from the dragged-out governor storyline, which I wanted to end last season, the 2nd episode after we seen him. So that was nice, but technically, the governor's girlfriend is the one who actually killed the governor by shooting him. And let's just talk about the very end of the episode. So everything goes to hell. Everything's on fire. Pretty much Rick's group won the battle. And, oh, the one part I wanted to mention was Daryl kills an army tank. He literally throws a grenade down the barrel of the tank, and the guy climbs out of it. Which, by the way, that guy who was driving the tank was. I remember when I was younger, I watched this prison TV show on HBO called Oz, and the guy who was driving the tank was the guy from the show Oz. I don't know why. Every time I picture that guy, I just see him in a prison cell with a scar right there on his cheek. So anyway, the guy climbs out of the tank. Daryl's like, you know, fuck this, and just shoots him with a crossbow. So thumbs up to Daryl. And by the way, speaking of Daryl, he took the news about Carol being pretty much exiled from the prison pretty good, didn't he? He just kind of gets up in Rick's face. Why didn't you tell me? This could have waited? And then it's over with. You think Daryl might have punched something or broke something to prove his manhood at that point? I would have. So at the very end of the episode, everything is on fire and flames, and finally we see Rick and Carl, which, by the way, speaking of Carl, I really like that kid. I used to hate him, and then he started to kind of grow, like, he got common sense. In my opinion, he's one of the only people on the show that has common sense and is willing to do whatever it takes. But at the very end, you see them two walking away from the prison, pretty much leaving the prison behind. And after the mid-season break, we're definitely going to pick up somewhere else with them on the road again, which is what I've been waiting for about 1.5 years for them to do, because in my opinion, the prison got a little bit stale, especially during season 3. And I thought they dragged it out, and it was a tiresome setting. It's like, okay, the jail cells, okay, we've had enough of it. So I'm glad that they are moving on, and I'm really curious to see where the rest of the season goes. I'm actually really excited for it. I mean, I think this mid-season finale was probably the best episode maybe I've seen of The Walking Dead, and it was definitely one of the better things, at least in the last season and a half of the entire show. So, I mean, I couldn't really ask for anything else for a mid-season finale. A lot of things got wrapped up. Also, you know, there's some questions that are a little bit left unanswered. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it was pretty darn good. I would give it the Flick Pick 2 thumbs up of approval. I'd give it an A. An A+, I don't know. I'll give it an A+. I'm feeling generous today. So anyway, guys, that's my take. That's my unedited take. So if I screwed up and I stuttered over my own words, it's not because I have a speech impediment. It's because I'm staring into 2 bright lights right now, and I'm all hopped up on caffeine. So anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought of the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead. Are you looking forward to it? What did you like most about this mid-season finale? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.